Finally, we have another good one. How many movies has it been? 3? So I've been slogging through these piles of shit for almost a month? Batman Under the Red Hood was based on the Red Hood storyline of the Batman comics, detailing the return of Jason Todd, the second Robin before Tim Drake, as the murderous vigilante Red Hood, taken from the Joker's previous title. The movie is deceptively simple. Years after his supposed death, Jason Todd as Red Hood starts a gang war with the head honcho of the Gotham underworld, Black Mask, while Batman tries to stop him. Through a series of encounters, Batman deduces Red Hood's identity as Jason Todd and learns from Ra's al Ghul that he used the Lazarus Pit to revive Jason, only to find that he apparently went insane from the trauma of his death and the resurrection. But it turns out that Jason didn't go insane, and orchestrated events to have Black Mask get the Joker out of Arkham so that he can have his revenge. Batman, of course, stops him and prevents anyone from dying before telling Alfred that the events of the movie haven't changed his fond memories of Jason. If that plot synopsis seems bare bones, then you'll quickly realize perhaps the biggest problem that I have with the film. What I laid out was the essentials. These are the things that have to happen to tell the story, but the minutia takes so long to play out. There's a random encounter with a Mazo who is completely wasted, and these 4 ninjas, and both of those encounters take several minutes. The ninjas do technically serve a narrative purpose, as it causes Batman and Jason to team up briefly and have an encounter after they win and Jason kills one of them. But I can't help but feel that this same scenario couldn't have been made to happen in less time and less needlessness, I suppose. In general, this film depicts a Gotham that is half in a Nolan-like universe and half in regular comic book land. Yes, we have a Mazo who has powers basically like Superman, but without invulnerability. And we also have ninjas that have cybernetic enhancements, and we have Lazarus Pits that can bring people back from the dead, but where's Superman or Wonder Woman or anyone else that can easily help a Batman in this conflict? Aside from the obvious fantastical elements, this movie treats Batman and his immediate partner Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing, as the only superheroes around. The stakes are limited to Gotham, the action is ridiculous, but technically not outside the realm of the Batman mythos, but again, a Mazo. I feel like the story would have been more cohesive as a product on its own if it didn't have these more fantastical elements, and kept to the down-to-earth drama, because that really is the best part of the movie. And I know that you then couldn't have an explanation of how Jason Todd survived that explosion, but there are already problems with that, so I don't think it would be too big of a sacrifice. While we're on the fantastical action, let's talk about how this movie is really, really dumb. So to begin, no, it's not the worst that we've seen or will see in terms of action, but it isn't the best either. I would say that the action's greatest strength is the environmental stuff. The location of any given fight scene is as important as the fighter's presence in this movie, as we see a lot of really good use of it in almost every fight. For example, Jason Todd uses the grapple to pull Batman into the gargoyle in the final fight. The original dynamic duo used shipping crates to get to higher ground against Amazo. Jason Todd uses the train to escape Batman. These are all really solid uses of these locations, and it's an aspect that I've been missing in these other movies. The weakest part of the action is the animation. It just feels unfinished in places, and I'm going to lump sloppy direction in here too. We see several shots of characters running along buildings in the chase sequences, but it just looks wrong, right? Like they're lazily clicking and dragging the animation loop at entirely the wrong speed across the frame. The action part, as in the fisticuffs that they throw at each other, lacks the impact that the excellent sound design would lead us to believe was happening.
Any of you hired guns even know who I am? You're a target!
Part of this is a problem of a dark color palette surrounding characters dressed primarily in black and brown, so even seeing the action is sometimes hard on a first viewing. As well, same problem as in Crisis on Two Earths, none of the punches thrown actually matter. We see no indication that any of Batman's many blows to Jason's head in the final battle actually did any damage, as he's conscious and coherent later on in the scene with no drawbacks, despite that he should have had his skull caved in many times during the encounter in the bathroom. bathroom. This extends to the many feats that we see mostly Jason doing, actually. Leaping several meters into the air like it's nothing, taking who knows how much punishment. Batman breaks his back at one point. And to top it all off, Jason leaps from the top of Raz's mountain mansion, and there is no explanation for how he survives this when he needed the Lazarus pit to come back from a regular old explosion. Sure. If you can get past the hokey stakes, however, the choreography itself is fairly good. While in an ideal world, any gadget used would be properly introduced to us, the various tools that both Batman and Red Hood use are done fairly well, being used in smart ways that show actual forward thinking from the characters as they try to gain tactical advantage in every situation. Unfortunately, all but the final fight are only ever used for sizzle. If you section out the fights that don't ultimately matter or could have been reworked, so that's either one of the 2 unsuccessful times Batman chases the Red Hood, the Amazo fight, and the Ninja fight, you have surprisingly little action, which I guess is a no-go for the studio or the comic writer that penned Red Hood initially, and so they added these random fights to fill in the space. To tell the story in roughly the same way as it plays out now, you would probably need 1 unsuccessful chase between Batman and Red Hood, the bridge scene when Red Hood confronts Joker, and the final confrontation between Batman and Red Hood. That's it. Thankfully, the latter is done very, very well. I don't think I can overstate how high the final scene soars above basically everything else we've seen so far in this whole series. Earlier in the film, Batman's guilt over Jason's death and his desire to kill the Joker are introduced and reinforced at several points.
This time, or you're just gonna put me in another body cast for 6 months.
And the final battle is properly centered around those 2 things while highlighting what makes Batman, Batman.
Save you, Jason. I'm trying to save you now.
Is that what you think this is about? That you let me die? I don't know what cloud your judgment worse, your guilt or your antiquated sense of morality. Bruce, I forgive you for not saving me. But why? Why on God's earth is he still alive?
Gotta give the boy points. He came all the way back from the dead to make this shindig happen. So, who's got a camera? Ooh, get one of me and the kid first. Then you and me, then the 3 of us, and then one with the crowbar. Then...
Despite his desires of reconciliation, he sees Jason as a threat to Gotham and doesn't hesitate during the fight. Jason questions why the Joker is still alive after the probable thousands of deaths he's caused, and Batman's argument is very Batman. That succumbing to his desire to kill the Joker would result in him going down a dark path, the same one that Jason has found himself on. It's a surprisingly selfish lens to view the Dark Knight from a company that loves to worship the guy. And Jason's response is the same as any naysayer of Batman.
Why? I'm not talking about killing Penguin or Scarecrow or Dent. I'm talking about him. Just him. And doing it because he took me away from you.
I can't. I'm sorry.
Now, I'm gonna be honest. I don't like Batman. For much the same reasons as I laid out why I thought that Owlman simultaneously was the most interesting part of Crisis on 2 Earths and that I hated him, Batman is by all accounts an interesting character, but I still don't like him, at least not anymore. I got my fix with the Nolan trilogy, The Dark Knight Returns, and the DCAU. I don't need any more Batman, and that his success inadvertently leads to other equally interesting characters like Nightwing being routinely shafted causes that disinterest to morph into hatred. I happen to agree with Jason in this argument, and I'm happy to report that while Jason is still framed as the main antagonist of the story, his view is never ultimately proven wrong or even necessarily argued against, at least in a broad sense. Yes, Batman says why he doesn't kill the Joker, but he never once argues that the Joker doesn't deserve to die. All his conclusion tells us is that he feels that he can't be the one to do it, and whether he feels Joker is redeemable through Arkham Asylum is left ambiguous. Case in point, though it ultimately works out that all parties boys survive, Batman walks away when presented with the ultimatum: either let Jason kill the Joker or kill Jason to stop him. Jason has already walked down this path and Batman knows this. Now, I don't know what Batman's plan is here, since he couldn't know that Jason would shoot at him, and that he can dodge a bullet is pretty bonkers, but still, it's the thought that counts. I was told that this movie is very heavy-handed by my brother, and upon my initial viewing several years ago, I agreed. Now, as my tastes and critical eye have developed, I don't see it nearly as much the same way. Aside from a few scenes, notably when Batman is waxing philosophical to Alfred in the Batplane just before the final confrontation, I felt that the tone was spot on.
Then I got him killed. My partner. My soldier. My fault. I own that. I'll carry that like everything else. But now there's this. He's taken everything I've ever taught him and turned it on me. It's a hell of my own making, Alfred.
Unfortunately, I don't have much to say on the editing. I'm not a film or animation editor. I'm a self-taught amateur creative writer and essayist, and self-taught amateur editor. Still, one place where I saw that stuck out was, unfortunately, the last scene of the movie. After all the action settles down, Jason disappears, Joker is sent back to Arkham, Black Mask is on bail hearing, and Bruce is back in the Batcave talking with Alfred, who asks if he should remove Jason's Robin uniform from its case. Batman says that he shouldn't, and says that what happened with Red Hood, quote, didn't change anything, unquote, before a flashback superimposes itself onto the scene, showing Jason's first time wearing the costume and ending on a shot of him proudly grinning. The order here should have been reversed. Other flashbacks were superimposed throughout the film, as Red Hood purposefully leads Batman to places with strong memories, like where the original Red Hood fell into the vat of acid that turned him into the Joker, and when Batman first met Jason taking off the tires of the Batmobile. So here, I felt it would have been nice to start with the flashback and have it fade into the present scene. Have that triumphant best day of my life scene, and then have Batman proclaim that the Red Hood didn't change anything. I felt it would have been a lot more powerful to see the good times that Bruce seems to be implying might have changed, and then his reaffirmation that they hadn't, that he still missed working with and being a father figure to Jason, but I might be way off there. Film editing isn't my area of expertise. Before I sign off, there are also some little things that I wanted to make mention of, but I don't really have a lot to say about any of them, so I'm just gonna kind of fire them off. Jason's banter as he does his work is entertainingly dry.
And I almost thought he wouldn't show.
And while I'm not the biggest fan of jokey Nightwing, his dynamic with Batman is also fun.
You know what I missed most about running with you? The toys.
Stay sharp. We're not done.
I absolutely love the Joker in this movie. They hit the perfect balance of funny and sadistic and married the two in every scene he was in.
I'm going to need something to wear in a very big truck.
Sure. Anything else?
I'll need some guys. Not these guys, because, well, they're kind of dead.
Unfortunately, I can't give the same praise to Black Mask. He obnoxiously yells in every scene, and it quickly became grating.
My money! Mine! This score was a game changer.
All I'll say is that it was very satisfying to see the Joker play him for an idiot and almost kill him. I would have liked to see a few more establishing shots. While I stand by my praise of using environmental hazards in the fight scenes, these things that they use are rarely given explicit attention so that the audience can know that they'll be important. I mentioned it several times already, but I just want to say it again that I don't believe it for a second that all of these costumed freaks aren't superhuman. It bothered me. But overall, Batman Under the Red Hood was a great movie, worthy of the DC name and worthy of the highest praise for rising above and beyond in several places that I particularly care about. The dialogue is good, the ideological battle is excellent, and while the story is simple and some action scenes feel unnecessary, I would never say that it was a waste of time or that it was uninteresting or unengaging. Check it out, you might just have a new favorite. Aside from the obvious fantastical elements, wake up, get up there. Wake up, get out there. Da 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 da. Ah!